This is the last video in the Bible study series, Volume 3, Into the Promised Land. Following is the next series, Volume 4, The Kings of Israel. Now an overview of the people of God. The people of Israel are the people of God, the Hebrews. The Lord used Moses to lay the foundational law, and to show them how they were to worship him. The religion of Egypt had been a threat to them all the while they were in captivity, and now that the children of Israel entered Canaan and took possession of their land, they now encounter the Canaanite religion. They are surrounded by many pagan nations, being exposed to many pagan gods and goddesses, and their many forms of pagan rituals and worship would have a great influence on them while in the land. The Lord had redeemed Israel for himself from Egypt, the nations and the nations' gods. He had made the people of Israel his very own, and he was their God. Now, the children of Israel live in the midst of many nations, and they failed to get rid of the many gods. There are the gods of Syria, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of the people of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines, and they began to adopt many of their practices and at many times worshipped their pagan gods, erecting shrines and altars to them. This became an abomination and spiritual idolatry to the one true God, and often angered him for their idolatry. The first and second commandment is, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. Now, the spiritual decline in Israel began very early in the settlements of their land. During the days of the tribe of the Danite, the tribe Samson is from, when they were seeking an inheritance to dwell in the land, they sent 5 men of their family from the territory of Zorah and Eshtaol, to spy out and search the land of Laish. They went to the mountains of Ephraim and lounged there at the house of Micah. The men of Danite coveted after Micah's carved and molded images that he made, coveted after his household gods, and the young Levite of Micah who became his priest. The men Dan took the carved and molded images of Micah, his household idols, and his Levite priest. The men in turn made him priest over the whole Danite tribe. They then went to Laish, and put the people to the edge of the sword and burned the city with fire, and they rebuilt the city and dwelt there. They called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father. The children of Dan set up for themselves the carved images, and Jonathan the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. Therefore, they set up for themselves Micah's carved image, which he made, all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. Shiloh, a city in the territory of Ephraim, was the first home of the tabernacle after the conquest of Canaan. Civil war broke out. The war was between the 11 tribes of Israel, against the tribe of Benjamin. A man and his concubine were passing from Bethlehem in Judah toward the remote mountains of Ephraim, on their way to the house of the Lord. They were about to sleep over in the open square, but a man brought them into his house and gave fodder to the donkeys, and hospitality to the couple. As they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beat on the door. They spoke to the master of the house, saying to the old man, Bring out the man who came to your house that we may know him carnally. Wow! We have heard this before. What? Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. The old man refused to bring out the man, but instead he sent out his concubine. The perverted men knew her and abused her all night until morning. When the day began to break, they let her go. The concubine made it back as the day was dawning, and she fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was, and was there until it was light. When her master arose in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way, there was his concubine, fallen at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. She was dead. When he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout all the territory of Israel. Even so, it was that all who saw it said, "No such deed has been done or seen from the day that the children of Israel came up from the land of Egypt until this day." All the children of Israel came out, from Dan to Beersheba, as well as from the land of Gilead, and the congregation gathered as one man before the Lord at Mizpah. The leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew the sword. The children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. The children of Israel wanted to know who had done this wicked deed. How did it happen? Therefore, the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, answered and said, "My concubine and I went into Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin, to spend the night, and the men of Gibeah rose against me, and surrounded the house at night because of me. They intended to kill me, but instead they ravished my concubine so that she died. Therefore, I took hold of my concubine, cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the territory of the inheritance of Israel, because they committed lewdness and outrage in Israel. Look. All of you are children of Israel, give your advice and counsel here and now." Then all the people arose as one man, saying, "None of us will go to his tent, nor will any turn back to his house, but now this is the thing which we will do to Gibeah, we will go up against it by lot. We will take 10 men out of every 1,000, and 1,000 out of every 10,000, to make provisions for the people, that when they come to Gibeah in Benjamin they may repay all the vileness that they have done in Israel." So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city and united together as one man. The children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God to inquire of him, but the Lord allowed the Israelites to lose 40,000 men before he took judgment on the tribe of Benjamin. This could have been for the reason that all the tribes of Israel were not completely walking with the Lord. Israel then came weeping before the Lord, and they fasted that day until evening, and they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. So the children of Israel inquired of the Lord. The ark of the covenant of God was there in those days, and they were told to go to battle again, and the Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel. Practically a whole tribe was wiped out that day. 18,000 men of the tribe of Benjamin fell that day. In those days, there was no king in Israel, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. The children of Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord which he had done for Israel. When all that generation had been gathered to their fathers, were deceased, another generation arose after them who did not know the Lord or the work which he had done for Israel. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, served the Baals, and the Ashtoreths, and forsook the Lord. All over Israel, the Lord raised up judges who delivered them out of the hand of those who plundered them, for he had sold them into the hands of their enemies all around, so that they could no longer stand before their enemies. Because of their idolatry and other corruption, the hands of the Lord were against them for calamity, as the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn to them. Nevertheless, the Israelites never learned. The Lord raised up judges who delivered them out of the hand of those who plundered them. Yet they would not listen to their judges, and they continued to play the harlot with other gods, and bowed down to them. They turned quickly from the way in which their fathers walked, in obeying the commandments of the Lord, they did not do so. When the Lord raised up judges for them, the Lord was with the judge and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge, for the Lord was moved to pity by their groaning because of those who oppressed them and harassed them. Nevertheless, when the judge was dead, they reverted and behaved more corruptly than their fathers behaved by following other gods, to serve them and bow down to them. They did not cease from their own doings or from their stubborn way. The Lord became so angry at Israel that he was no longer going to drive out before them any of the nations which Joshua left when he died. These were the nations the Lord left that he might test Israel by them. They were the 5 lords of the Philistines, all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, and the Hivites who dwelt in Mount Lebanon. They were left, that the Lord might test Israel by them to know whether they would obey the commandments of the Lord, which he had commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. Therefore, the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. They took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and they served their gods. Unfortunately, this was the spiritual condition of Israel on up to the last judge, Samson. The word of the Lord becomes rare after this, and in the latter days, there would be no widespread revelation until the time of Samuel. In those days, there was no king in Israel, everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Thanks for listening. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.